Hello everyone, Ryan here. So, I was recently tagged by another booktuber, Jordan, also known as the Bookie Babe, and she created her own tag, which is called the Book and Song Tag. And so, if you're not familiar with her, I'll of course provide a link to her channel. But this original tag she created simply involves trying to find, I guess, a particular song or playlist that kind of matches up or correlates with a particular book. And so there's no questions for this tag, but it's pretty much just, picking as many books as you can that you feel match up with certain songs. That's the way I understood it, and I hope that I understood it at least somewhat correctly. So I'll just get right into it here. For the first book, I chose The Trial by Franz Kafka, and it's pretty compelling. I'm currently rereading it, but of course I gotta say that I'm a big fan of Franz Kafka. His work has had a big influence on my own original work, my own original poems and short stories. So I do recommend reading as much Kafka as you can. But The Trial is about, I guess, this guy who's accused of committing a certain act, which he knows that he didn't, but he seems to be surrounded by, or at least he feels he's surrounded by a lot of people who are convinced that he did commit this certain act. And so I noticed that while reading this, while I listened to various classical songs, classical music, and nothing in particular, but I would say a couple songs by Mozart and Bach. And I don't know why, but it's just, during certain chapters in this book, this particular, while listening to classical music, it just kind of heightens the suspense in certain chapters. So, yeah, that's what I feel. So, that's the first book. The second book I decided on is Brain on Fire by Susannah Cahalan, and it's a memoir / autobiography, and it's all about when Susannah Cahalan started experiencing symptoms of this rare mental illness called anti-NMDA encephalitis, in which is essentially like her own brain was, kind of, I guess you could say, or rather her body was rejecting her brain. And of course it's all the science and biological stuff behind that whole thing is described in detail in this book. But it's very compelling, and because it's compelling, like during certain points, I noticed that while listening to this one song titled "Sober" by Tool, the band Tool, for me it kind of made sense, like kind of matched up, and if you're not familiar with the band Tool, I do suggest you look them up. They're a pretty well-known rock band, and so is their song "Sober." But yeah, I mean, definitely look up Tool, check out this book, read it. There you go. For the third book, I decided on Walden by Henry David Thoreau. Henry David Thoreau was, of course, considered to be a transcendentalist. In other words, he was part of this movement called the Transcendentalist movement, or you could say Transcendentalism, along with other guys like Ralph Waldo Emerson and a handful of other guys. This is definitely I feel, a very important book that everybody should read at least once. Of course, I plan on reviewing this book separately in much more detail. But essentially, Henry David Thoreau, he wrote about his experience when he decided to go live in the woods and build his own cabin and he lived out there for a couple of years and essentially reconnected with nature, had all of these different epiphanies and insights and introspections, and so it's definitely worth reading. So the song I chose for this is titled "Of Wolf and Man" by Metallica, and of course Metallica is definitely my all-time favorite band. The lyrics for the song "Of Wolf and Man" pretty much talk about transcending one's physical form and also mental state and getting back to a very primal way of life. And so I feel that those lyrics pretty much encapsulate perfectly what Henry David Thoreau wrote about. What Henry David Thoreau wrote about in Walden. Getting back to nature, reconnecting to some very primal state of mind. Though obviously not too primal, but again, you should definitely read it or review it at a later time. So for the fourth book, I chose Utopia by Thomas More. And granted, it's kind of an old book. It was written a while ago. I want to say sometime in the 1700s. 1700s, mid to late 1700s, by Thomas More. It's essentially about this explorer. It's a fictional account of what an explorer experienced when he came upon this island and this entire city called Utopia, in which none of the citizens have to worry about providing for their basic needs, such as food, clothing, shelter, medicine. Of course, it doesn't include electricity because this was some time before electricity was invented and or widely available. But it's definitely worth reading. This is another one that I plan on reviewing in much more detail. But the song I chose for this is "Imagine" by John Lennon. So, and if you don't know who John Lennon is, then I said, just stop watching this video right now. But so of course, the lyrics for "Imagine" by John Lennon, talk about people coexisting in peace, harmony, cooperating with each other. That's essentially the basic ideals of what Thomas More tried to get across in Utopia. So, yeah, there you go. So the last book, fifth and last book I decided on, is Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. And granted, this book came out a while ago, and so did the movie. Of course, the movie, the movie has a lot of action scenes in it. It's action-packed, but now definitely the book is better, much more detailed, which is usually the case. But the song I chose for this is in fact one by my band, REVOLT. It's called "Breaking the Curse." And I chose it mostly because because of the different action scenes. And I figured, what better song, what better than a high intensity rock song, to go along with, the various vampire slaying scenes. So, and of course, I'm also planning on reviewing this separately too. So, there you go. That'll do it for this particular tag video. Thanks to Jordan again for tagging me. And I guess it's time for me to tag other people. So I'm going to tag Codey from PIMP Book Review, and also Roya from Roya Reads. So there you go. Until next time, keep it real, keep on rocking. Peace.